On this episode of Media Rebel Unplugged,
You have to be patient with yourself. You've got to be consistent. You have to learn to forgive yourself, which can be one of the hardest steps, right? For to create an alter ego as character, to step into, it almost allows you to play that role and do things that you're not quite confident enough to do as yourself. Step out of your comfort zone and do things that will then lead to more self-esteem and higher confidence. So we really have to pretend. It's almost like you need to learn how to speak to yourself the way you would someone that you love.
welcome back to Media Rebel Unplugged. I'm Janice. Today we're diving into a topic that so many women face, but often feel they have to navigate alone. I myself have gone through it 2 times, and that is life after divorce. My guest is Leah Mazer, a certified divorce recovery coach and the founder of Mindfully Ready. She also co-hosts a podcast called Divorce with Sam and Leah. I'm so excited to have you on today because I've gone through this twice. And as we talked about before we started to record, women leading through divorce isn't easy. So welcome on the show.
Thank you.
What inspired you to dedicate your work to divorce recovery?
It was my own journey. I had gone through it twice myself, and it was actually during lockdown. So I was working full-time from home. I was a single mom. I was homeschooling because everything was shut down.
Yep.
And I really just wanted to find something that was more fulfilling. Like I knew I was meant for more than I was doing. I was just basically working at a job that was just paying the bills. And then I started to learn more about coaching, like life coaching. And the more I learned, I was like, oh my God, this is like, I was born to do this. Like, this is what I need to be doing. And I knew that I wanted to help women who were going through divorce because that was me. Like I was essentially helping women who I was just a couple of steps ahead, right? So I had tools and I had resources and I had things that I could help make their journey easier than what my own journey was.
When it comes to divorce, there is such a great demand. I mean, if you just look at the numbers, the data, you cannot deny how it is.
Yeah. And especially I wanted to focus on the recovery aspect because I felt like there were so many divorce coaches. They help you through the process itself. But once that ink is dry on the paper, so many women are like, okay, now what? Like, who am I? What's next? What do I do with all these feelings that I'm stuck with, like guilt and shame and feelings of failure and low self-confidence? Like, how do I get through that so that I can actually create a next chapter that feels good and that I enjoy and can make the most of?
It's bad enough when you get divorced one time, but when you get divorced a second time, my God, the failure that you are just smacked in the face with, and then the
Yes.
shame on top of it, especially like I come from a very religious background and I'm a very faithful person. Unfortunately, married to people that weren't the same. The recovery of it in itself, it takes a long time. I'm 7 years since my second divorce.
Mhm.
And people marvel at how we get along now, and I'm like, "Yeah, that took 4 years."
Right.
That
Right. And
doesn't
sometimes
happen.
you just get along better with someone when you're not married to them.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Most definitely. So, when you're talking with women about this recovery process, like, what's the first step that you encourage them to take?
Well, it does depend on where they are in the process, right? But let's say they're starting like their healing process. I think it's so important to self-reflect. It's really easy to come out of a relationship, especially if it was a toxic relationship, pointing the finger, right? They did this and they never did this and they always did this and all of that. It can be completely valid, but that doesn't empower you. So the goal is, how can you reflect on the things you want to do differently next time? Where were you mentally and emotionally when you started that relationship? Were there boundaries that you weren't setting? Were you not advocating for yourself? Were there red flags that maybe you missed or ignored in the beginning, right? When you reflect, that's what empowers you to then make better choices moving forward so that you don't find yourself in the same types of relationships over and over, but also so you can evolve, grow, and heal, right? Because if you're not taking any responsibility or holding yourself accountable for the role you played, that's not going to help you moving forward because we all play a role in our lives and in our relationships.
That is a vital piece, and I'm happy that you addressed that because I know it took me a while myself to reflect, and it is really easy to get stung up on the finger pointing, as you've
Sure.
said. I mean, wow, did you ever sit and kind of reflect on ourselves and to have growth from it? There's no other way to grow if we're not able to reflect.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. I mean, you can bury your head in the sand and again point your fingers and move forward, but then what's going to happen is you're just going to repeat the same patterns over and over. So if your goal is I want different results, I want better results next time, then you do have to do that work of figuring out, okay, well what do I need to be doing differently in order to get those results?
I know you also talk a lot about building self-esteem back up too, and that being a really big mindset shift. And I hear that from reoccurring conversations I'm having with women about our self-esteem and self-love and self-care. What do you think it takes to really help a woman rebuild that self-esteem?
So you do definitely have to be patient with yourself. You've got to be consistent with it. And you have to learn to forgive yourself, which can be one of the hardest steps, right? Forgive yourself for mistakes you made or even like choosing that type of partner or maybe having kids with that partner. Like there's a lot of different things. But a lot of things go into rebuilding your self-esteem. I mean, one is your inner dialogue, right? If your inner critic is just running wild and you just speak very poorly of yourself and you're telling yourself you're a failure and you're telling yourself you're going to be alone forever and you're telling yourself you ruined your kids' lives, you're going to feel like shit, right? It's not going to help your self esteem. So you really have to get good at becoming your own cheerleader and being careful about what conversations you're having with yourself about yourself. So, like, watch that inner critic. A really cool tool or approach that you can take with this too is naming that voice in your head. Because just because you hear something, just because something comes up, it doesn't make it true, right? So a way to separate your higher self from your inner critic is to give her a name. So I named mine Maxine years ago. She's real spicy, very unsupportive. But what happens is when you hear those things come up, like I'm not good enough, I'm going to be alone forever, you can acknowledge it and go, okay, I hear you, Maxine, but I don't have to believe you. I don't have to buy into that just because I'm hearing it. It doesn't make it my truth. And when you practice that, it helps actually reprogram your subconscious, right? You kind of put yourself back in the driver's seat. And so that's one way to really start building your self-esteem is getting that inner critic under control because she's always going to live there. Like she doesn't ever you can't evict her, but you can learn to separate her from your higher self and just choose not to buy into her narrative.
I've never heard of that before, but it makes so much sense now that you say it. And I can think of, have you ever seen Fried Green Tomatoes?
Yes, I love that movie.
Like, me too. Now it's kind of the opposite of it, but when she's like, "To Wanda,"
Yes.
it's like
Yes,
the badass other side of her.
that's
It's
right.
like we almost need 2 of those because didn't Beyoncé, she has an alter ego
Tasha
too.
Steers. That's right. An alter ego.
Right. Right, so it's like we almost need to have one on each polar opposite of ourselves.
Absolutely. And that's another actually really great technique. I share how to create an alter ego actually inside my online course because that's something that can really boost your confidence. You know, a lot of times we want to do things, but we're afraid of what people will think. We're afraid of, fear, rejection, abandonment, things like that, judgment from others. And so when you can kind of pretend, when you can like step into that alter ego, you really figure it out, you break it down, you give her a name. What does she look like? What does she wear? How does she walk? How does she talk? Like what does she do with her free time? Really break it down, like create this character to step into. It almost allows you to play that role and do things that you're not quite confident enough to do as your self. And so that's another a really cool technique to help you step out of your comfort zone and do things that will then lead to more self-esteem and higher confidence.
Yeah, it's really empowering too when you can do that, and I'm gonna have to now sit back and think of, like, what am I gonna I'm really self-critical.
I mean, everyone's their own worst critic for sure, you know? And that's the thing is like it's so funny because as women especially, we're so loving and caring and we'll be there with open arms for our friends and our family. And if something happened to them, we're the first one to show up and be their cheerleader and give them encouraging, words and affirmations. But when it's us, we're horrible. So
Yeah.
we really have to pretend it's almost like you need to learn how to speak to yourself the way you would someone that you love. Like how would you show up? Like if you're in a situation where you're getting a divorce a second time and you're feeling like a failure and embarrassed about it, pretend that your best friend came to you with the same scenario. What would you tell her? What advice would you give? What would your perspective be on her situation? It wouldn't be, yeah, you suck. You're a terrible mother. You're such a loser. You should, I can't believe you're doing that. You would never say that to somebody that you care about. So you've got to kind of play that role for yourself as well.
I think society too has really shamed divorced women, even though it's become more common over time. But you hear people with their little snippy comments, oh, she's been divorced that many times. The thing is, you don't know the circumstances that led up to that. You don't know how hard that woman fought for her marriage, how many times they went through counseling, how many sleepless nights,
That's right.
how many times she cried herself to sleep. And I think that we need to give people a little bit more grace and remove that judgmental part of our society when it comes to divorce for women.
100%. It is wild that there's still such a stigma when it's such a common thing. Like it just doesn't, the math isn't mathing. I don't get it. I think eventually everybody will catch up. But yeah, and just remember, like when people judge you, that's really a projection of their own stuff that has nothing to do with you. And yeah, I have never in my years of doing this met a woman who just woke up one morning and decided to get divorced for no reason. Like that's just not how it plays out. It takes on average 2 years for a woman to consider divorce before they even take those steps to make it a reality. I mean, so this is something that comes up again and again, and they struggle with until they actually take those steps to move forward with the divorce. And it is not easy for anyone.
Yeah, that's just how we are made, wanting to build and nurture and have, these type of relationships. I think it's more like I hear more of men just waking up one day, I don't want to be married to you anymore. I want to be with somebody younger than you or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So I do feel like it is tougher for us ladies than it is on the guys.
Yeah.
And it's easier to blame us.
Yeah, I mean, well, we usually take on the emotional weight of our relationships. Like when we're in a family unit, let's say it's, a husband and a wife and children, usually the women are bearing the weight of the emotional things that happen in that relationship, right? And so we're carrying that with you. We're with ourselves. We're making sure that our kids are okay. We're making sure our spouse is okay. We're making sure that like we're the caregiver for everybody. And so yeah, I think definitely emotionally it takes a massive toll on us then when we're going through that process of kind of everything falling apart, right? Everything starting to kind of cave in on itself and us feeling like, "Oh, if only I tried harder, if only I had more patience, if only I maybe did this differently or if only," and we can kind of live in that that world of what ifs and if only for a long time. And so really that part of healing is gaining acceptance that, is really just accepting where you're at in your journey and figuring out where you want to go and then start taking steps like forward motion to get you to that place so that you can heal and move on.
I'm gonna segue us into dating because
Okay.
something that you said, it kinda made me think about, so again, I've been divorced for 7 years now, and I think like most really busy women, I have tried the dating apps, right?
Okay.
Dating app
Yeah.
hell, as I like to call it now. I'm off them now, just for the record, but I can't even count how many times I would see a profile of men and the things that they would say, like as their bragging points of like, I've never been married and I have no children. And this is like a bragging right for them, or, profiles where, oh, I don't want to date someone that's divorced. And if you've got trauma, then I don't want to date you. So I would love to hear your feedback for women going through divorce recovery on how should they start into the dating pool, and do you ever recommend a dating app?
So, yes, I think dating apps they can be helpful if you're somebody who really doesn't get out much. So, you're not really putting yourself in positions where you can meet people. And I think it could be a great like filtration process, right? But that's not to say it won't have its own headaches. I mean, the dating world is the wild, wild west in general, right? No matter which way you cut it. So,
Yeah, especially for women in their 40s.
yeah, I mean, it can get a little crazy out there. But I think this is also where it's so important when you're coming out of a relationship to get yourself to a place where you feel whole and happy and fulfilled and enough and worthy and lovable and you like yourself and you respect yourself and you have healed, because that is the best, most empowering place that you can be before you then start choosing partners. Because if you are dating from a place of who's going to want me now, or I just need validation or attention, or I'm just lonely, or I'm just bored, you're going to be choosing very different partners, right? So if you create a life that it feels fulfilling and you feel good and you're loving where you're at, your standards are going to be a lot higher. You're going to know your deal breakers, and you're not going to choose people out of fear or lack or to fill a void. You're going to be showing up on these dates thinking to yourself, well, what do you bring to the table? Are you good enough for me? Do you add value to my life? Are you what I'm looking for? All right. As opposed to, I mean, when I was dating after my first divorce, it was the complete opposite. I was like, is he gonna like what I say? Am I gonna say the right thing? Am I gonna do the right thing? Am I gonna, is he gonna think I have too much baggage now that I've been divorced, now that I have a kid? And so of course I was gonna choose the wrong partners because my self-esteem was in the gutter, right? Like we date at the same level as our self-esteem. So I think just the most important piece of advice to take away from this is just remind yourself like you are your most important relationship. And so creating a life that feels good for you, where you don't feel like you need a romantic partner in order to feel fulfilled, that's the best place to be to attract your ideal partner because you don't need them. They're bonus.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I've been saying. I'm like, I'm so happy with myself that now if you're going to come into my space, you cannot disrupt my peace. It's to add to my peace. Like the
Yes.
moment that I notice that you're starting to take away from me and I feel like I need to chase after somebody, that's when I'm like, this has to stop. This isn't healthy. Being able to identify that. And as you said, like having that self esteem now, knowing my worth now, not having shame in my past experiences has helped me, hopefully will help other women as well as they're on their journey.
Yes, absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, dating is absolutely the wild, wild west. It's crazy. And I'm gonna be
Yeah, and
torn.
like going back to what you said, I mean, if people are out there like, oh, if you have trauma, I don't want to. What that says to me is you've got unhealed trauma.
Yes,
It's all a projection. Like if you're telling people you don't want to deal with the trauma, well, then you probably have unresolved trauma as well. Because if you're good with you, you're not going to judge other people, right? For their stuff. But at the same time, if you're somebody who's working on yourself and you hold yourself accountable and you know you're responsible for your own healing, you're going to want to attract a partner who's doing the same thing.
right. Yeah, absolutely. So you co-created the next chapter membership. What is that community about?
It's so cool. Sam is somebody who was also she had a divorce that was extremely high conflict. It was like 8 years of going to court, over $100,000. I mean, it was insane. So she's really good at helping women through the high conflict aspect of things. And then myself, what I focus on is like the mental and emotional support, setting boundaries, advocating for yourself, healing, all of that stuff. So when you put us together, it's like peanut butter and jelly. So we created this space where it's for moms who are going through divorce. Usually it's more high conflict, meaning you're dealing with somebody who's really not cooperative or somebody who doesn't put the kids' best interest first, right? It makes things really difficult for you or on transition days or all of that stuff. And so it's a private membership for moms to be able to come in, lean on and communicate with each other and ask questions. We host a live workshop every single week in there on a different topic, whether it's trial and mediation prep or, custody schedules or like holidays are coming or how to set boundaries or if you're going, there's so much in there so that you feel so much more prepared. You have way more clarity and way more confidence because you're getting the tools and the resources and the support and the guidance not only from coaches, but from a whole community of women who are in kind of the same boat and dealing with the same type of things. So you're just going to be able to avoid making a lot of the common mistakes. You're just going to feel a lot more empowered about what can you do, what shouldn't you do, and how do I empower my kids, and how do I make sure I'm taking care of myself and prioritizing my own healing so that I can set a good example for them. There's just a lot to it, right? That we don't have anybody to help us, right? Like there's just so many components. And so we created that space for moms to come and get what they need.
That's incredible. It sounds like women really walk away with a lot of tools and support system, and it's really hard to find,
It
especially
is.
like in your personal circle. It's I think it's even more difficult. It comes with different judgment. You've got family perspectives, like what you get from your mom and your aunt. It's going to be so
Yes.
different from another woman that's going through the exact same thing that you are.
You're so right. And you might have super supportive family and friends and they could have your best interest at heart and still give you really bad advice, or just not practical advice. So it is good to be able to connect with professionals and other women who are in the same boat who really do get it so that you can have guidance that's a little bit more objective and not coming from somebody who's really emotionally invested, and maybe their perspectives are a little skewed because they're just so close to you in your circle.
That's a really good point. It doesn't matter how supportive your family is, you still need to have a network of women that have walked that journey in the past
Yes.
and present to go through it with you.
Yes. Yeah, because you don't, unless you've experienced it, it's really hard to really understand everything that comes with it. I mean, it's complicated.
Yeah, I've said this to my mom so many times. My parents have been married 43 years.
Okay.
So it's like my mom's never been a single parent. I've been a single parent 3 different times in my life. She's never gone through divorce, and to, like, have my moments of breaking down, like, "I'm gonna be single forever."
I mean, we all have those moments, but I mean, but at the end of the day, those are stories we tell ourselves, right? It's not true. I mean, truly, like there is your ideal partner exists, like that. There is a person who will want exactly what you have to offer, right? It's like the pieces of the puzzle coming together. Like wherever you're at, whoever you are, however many kids you have, however long you've been single, is irrelevant for the right person.
Yes, I love that you said that because I completely agree with you. It's just like you said, it's that liar in here. I've gotta give her
Yes.
an I'm gonna need
Yeah,
a
you gotta give
yeah.
her a real sassy name so that you can you can start telling her to F off. Yeah, it's a great tool. I mean, you could even teach it to them. I mean, kids, there's a lot of research behind this. Like, you kids learn from our example, right? And so that's a tool. I mean, everybody has that inner critic. Everyone has self-doubt sometimes that creeps up. And so it's teaching them how to process that, how to navigate through that.
I'm gonna definitely give that to my daughter because she's in that preteen era of
Yeah.
so many lies that as we did when we were younger, to ourselves about our bodies or
Yes.
what people think about us. So I appreciate you giving me that tool today because I'm definitely gonna apply it. Hopefully others will apply it as well as they hear this conversation.
Yes, I hope so. It's pretty cool.
So tell us about a little bit more. I know we've talked about a little bit of this podcast that you're co-hosting with Sam. And before we got on here, you said you have episodes 2 times a week. What are the conversations that you're having there? What can listeners really take away from it?
What listeners are taking away from it is just how honest we are. We don't sugarcoat things. I mean, we really draw from not only our own experiences as divorced moms, but all of our clients and all of our members. I mean, we're hearing stories every day and dealing with different scenarios. And so that's what we talk about, the real stuff that's going on with moms, whether it's you're co-parenting with someone who's a narcissist. And so it makes you feel crazy because they're lying and gaslighting and not putting the kids first and not doing what's best for everyone, or accusing you of things that aren't even true. And so it's like, what do you do with that? How am I supposed to do this for however many years until my kids age out, are 18? And so tools like that. And today we actually did a whole episode on false beliefs, kind of like what we dove into a little bit, like some of the most common lies that we tell ourselves as women, as moms, when it comes to divorce. Like, I failed my kids, or I'm going to be alone forever, or I won't be able to financially support myself, or, all of these things that are common fears that, that come up, but they're not true. And so it's just like working through things like that to help you move forward with more confidence. So we kind of lay it all out. I mean, we talk about everything.
I love your podcast. I've already tuned into a few
You
episodes.
did. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, I try to do my due diligence before I have somebody come on, and I like the one that you did about the 10 occupations most likely to cheat. And
Yes.
I was so on board with Sam. Like, I was thinking like she like anybody of badge.
Yes.
So I encourage people to listen to that episode too, because I thought it was like really interesting. Because some of them, I was like, oh yeah, I could totally see that, or oh, I've dated somebody like that.
Mhm. No, it's interesting. Kind of some of the like trends, right? Like the patterns that we've been, that we see after working with women for so long.
Yeah. So if people would like to learn more about you, where should they go?
So you can go to mindfullyready.com, and I'm everywhere on social media, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. My handle is at mindfullyready.
Awesome. We are going to have links in the description for people to go to as well. Well, thank you so much for being on today. I love what you're doing. I love your feedback. I absolutely am going to name this little liar that I now have in my head.
Good.
I am
I'm
forever
glad.
changed.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, this was fun.
You're welcome. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Please go check out the Divorce with Sam and Leah podcast. I am Janice. Thank you so much. Make sure you like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.